Let's continue with our discussion of The Dose Effect by T.J. Power. Today is the third part of our interpretation. This session's theme is oxytocin. Oxytocin is a neurochemical that helps people form connections with one another. The most typical example happens the moment you're born. When your mother holds you in her arms, both her brain and yours release a surge of oxytocin. It's this chemical that makes you feel love from others and want to connect with them. Oxytocin is vital for a healthy life because we are social beings. We need belonging. We need to know that someone cares about us. As we discussed earlier in Sahel Bloom's The 5 Types of Wealth, research shows that the best predictor of a person's physical health at age 80 isn't cholesterol. It's how satisfied they were with their relationships at 50. The greatest harm to health doesn't come from smoking or drinking, but from loneliness. More precisely, it's the feeling of loneliness. On a neural level, people with low oxytocin often feel isolated and rejected, as if abandoned by society. Interestingly, another common symptom of low oxytocin is a lack of confidence, feeling inadequate, incapable, and socially inferior. Why is that? Power explains that confidence is determined by your dialogue with your inner self. When your oxytocin level is low, that inner voice becomes critical and harsh. When oxytocin is high, the inner voice turns supportive and comforting. There is, in a sense, a kind of socializing with yourself. Once we understand this mechanism, an important insight emerges. Helping others is helping yourself. Acts of kindness trigger oxytocin, which boosts confidence and improves performance. That's a powerful realization. Let's unpack it. Oxytocin acts both as a hormone, circulating through the body, for example, helping the uterus contract during childbirth, and as a neuropeptide within the brain, where it regulates emotion, trust, bonding, and prosocial behavior. The oxytocin receptor, OXTR, is found in several brain regions, including the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, and nucleus accumbens, all of which are involved in emotion, motivation, and behavior. In the previous chapter, we discussed fast and slow modes of dopamine. Oxytocin, by contrast, has only one mode. It's released through relational activities. It functions as both a short-term and long-term variable. One can have a generally average baseline level, yet also experience sudden spikes during emotional moments. Extroverts tend to release oxytocin through ordinary social interactions, while introverts rely more on deep, intimate relationships. Both patterns are valid. To grasp how oxytocin truly works, we must understand a principle that applies to all 4 dose chemicals. Release is triggered by context, but feeling depends on reception. You cannot consciously will your brain into neurochemical regulation. Your brain must detect a specific context before releasing the corresponding neurotransmitter or peptide. And even after release, it only works if the receiving system can properly process the signal. In the case of oxytocin, social interaction, especially physical touch, triggers its release. Context works. The release happens. The problem is usually on the receiving end. Everyone releases oxytocin when hugged by a loved one, but not everyone feels the love. If someone has an avoidant attachment style with low OXTR receptor density, their brain struggles to register the signal. They may feel shame or defensiveness instead of warmth. Similarly, people who have been lonely for a long time rarely experience oxytocin release. Their receptors gradually weaken. Use it or lose it. Later, when intimacy finally occurs, they still release oxytocin but can't feel it fully. Their rational mind knows others mean well, yet emotionally they remain numb. It takes time to rebuild that connection. The good news: most people's OXTR receptors are fine. The system is ready. It just lacks contexts that trigger oxytocin release. And that's where we can intervene. Create more contexts. Power identifies 4 main causes of low oxytocin, divided into external and internal factors. Externally, the first cause is lack of social connection. If you're in a new environment with few relationships, there's no opportunity for oxytocin release. The second external cause is low-quality relationships. Even if you socialize, shallow interactions, like friends eating lunch while scrolling their phones, don't produce meaningful oxytocin release. Internally, the first issue is social comparison. Social media encourages us to compare constantly. You buy a new car and feel happy, until you see an old classmate's nicer one on Instagram. Instantly, your joy is cut in half. As the saying goes, comparison is the thief of joy. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt has warned that social media fuels anxiety, though some studies argue the effect may be overstated. In any case, remember, other people's lives aren't yours to compare, and what you see online is usually a highlight reel, often edited. Don't take it too seriously. The second internal cause is insecurity about appearance or self-image. Here, it helps to know about the spotlight effect. People are not scrutinizing you. They're too busy worrying about themselves. The key insight is that internal and external factors rely on the same oxytocin system, and they can reinforce each other. Through external social interaction, you can boost oxytocin and rebuild inner confidence. Confidence is rarely a matter of objective achievement. It's an internal sense of assurance. If you have an important presentation this afternoon, you can't earn a new degree in a few hours. But you can leverage oxytocin. Studies show that inhaling oxytocin spray can make people perform tasks with greater confidence. However, it's not that oxytocin creates confidence. Rather, it increases trust, reducing fear of rejection and criticism. It makes you feel, I am a person of worth. It also quiets that inner critic, opening the channel for self-acceptance and self-soothing. Once oxytocin frees you from fear and shame, confidence naturally emerges. That's why athletes often high-five before a game, to boost oxytocin and confidence. And if your child has an important exam, a simple hug can help more than 1,000 words. For long-term confidence, one of the best strategies is helping others. Volunteering, community service, or acts of kindness. Helping others elevates oxytocin, strengthens self-worth, and deepens self-confidence. When you're more confident, you're also more willing to engage socially, creating a positive feedback loop. There's investment and feedback, so slow dopamine activates too. You become deeply motivated. This might be the most valuable takeaway from today. Even if you're not naturally social, participating in social life will make you more confident. The most direct way to raise oxytocin is through social interaction, and the fastest way is physical touch. Among all forms of touch, hugging is the most effective. In Power's Dose workshops, participants are often asked to hug each other. At first, everyone feels awkward, but that awkwardness quickly dissolves into calm and warmth. The atmosphere transforms. Physical touch doesn't just increase oxytocin. It also reduces cortisol, lowering stress. After a long, exhausting day, a hug can be deeply restorative. Couples should make hugging a daily ritual. And if no one is around, hugging a pet works wonders too. Another ideal social activity is exercising together, especially outdoors, walking or running in nature. Conversely, the more artificial the interaction, the weaker its effect. A phone call can still trigger oxytocin, hearing someone's voice matters, but texting doesn't. So, real face-to-face interaction is best. The kind of genuine socializing we've discussed many times before. The deepest way to elevate oxytocin isn't through casual social contact, but through doing something for others. When you give to others, you feel warmth and peace. That's oxytocin at work. As Alfred Adler taught, happiness comes from a sense of contribution to the community. Remember how, as children, we felt happiest receiving gifts. But as adults, giving a gift brings greater joy? Especially when you choose something meaningful and see the recipient's eyes light up. That's mutual oxytocin release, and since you initiated it, the effect on you is even stronger. As Joey said to Phoebe in Friends, there's no unselfish good deeds. Whenever you help someone, even raking leaves for a neighbor, you feel good because your brain releases oxytocin. You simply can't help others without feeling good yourself. Immature people think only of themselves. Maturity means turning your attention outward, supporting family, friends, and community. People may praise your generosity, but your secret is, it just makes you feel good. And it makes you more confident. Finally, oxytocin has a dark side. Strictly speaking, oxytocin doesn't make us love everyone. It's not a universal love hormone. Its true function is to make us love our own group, to strengthen in-group bonds. But where there's an in-group, there's an out-group. Internal unity often comes with external hostility. In experiments where people were divided into teams and one team inhaled oxytocin spray, those members became more loyal and self-sacrificing for their group, but also more hostile toward the rival team. So, oxytocin fosters belonging, not benevolence. It deepens the feeling of we're in this together, not we're all friends. That makes it a double-edged sword, capable of strengthening both trust and animosity. And when we link oxytocin to confidence, the social dynamics become clearer. Why do populist leaders love to invent external enemies? Why do some Make America Great Again supporters show strong exclusionary tendencies? Perhaps oxytocin again. They crave the warmth of group belonging. Individually, they may feel powerless, but immersed in collective oxytocin, they regain confidence. They don't just need an enemy, they enjoy having one. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.